So Modern Warfare 2 is here. I'm enjoying grinding out for the most part. We'll be live on Twitch if you guys want to join in on all of that. We have drops enabled, but if you're like me, the game feels a bit empty still, right? I mean, maybe not for the reasons you may expect, or maybe it is, but from the initial launch to now, it feels like something or multiple things have been missing. And if you feel that way, well, you're not wrong. I'm actually really surprised at how many things are missing by comparison to recent years out of the initial Modern Warfare 2 offering, to the point where I almost was like, there's gotta be another day one update coming, right? Well, we haven't seen that just yet, and for right now, we don't have information on a lot of these other things we do, so we're breaking down what you need to know, what is missing if you had any questions here in regards to why can't I find this certain thing in Modern Warfare 2, and all things you need to know about when to expect some of these in some other discussion here. So as we go along, drop your thoughts below. Is there anything that we missed out on this list that you guys have noticed noticeably absent from Modern Warfare 2? How many of these things you're anticipating to make their way into the game, and how soon? Whatever the case, drop your thoughts below, but if you enjoyed the video, you find it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on the video. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. Once again, thanks so much for 500,000 subscribers, still insanely surreal to consider. If you guys would like to stay on top of everything Modern Warfare 2 here while joining us and the community on that road to now 600,000 subscribers, I'd love to have you. And finally, my friends at GamerAdvantage have an awesome promo going on right now, but more on them a little later. So that said, honestly, right out of the gate, I noticed that there was some stuff that seemed to be missing from the initial launch here. Myself, I had an early copy of the game. I was able to start playing as soon as servers went live with the New Zealand launch, but this was after a hefty update went out just a few hours before that launch. So that was the day one update that we saw, but when we logged on, well, I immediately noticed a couple of things. There was no combat record, leaderboards, challenges, or barracks of any kind. One thing that I was really looking forward to seeing was the Tier 1 changes, or rather, hardcore in Modern Warfare 2. And those were things that immediately I didn't quite understand. I mean, Tier 1 was something that was listed as being there from launch. The barracks didn't quite make any sense because it seemed like we were tracking challenges in the back end. We have the ability to change our calling card showcased items within our account and character customization where you can edit that showcase, but you couldn't actually go and see your calling cards. You couldn't see how to earn more if there are actually career challenges that go along with it. So that was one of the things that immediately I was like, okay, well, there's another update coming, right? Like there has to be. That doesn't make any sense why we'd end up seeing this stuff, but no way to access it. And honestly, that was also something that went in line with something that's now fixed, where you couldn't actually access any of the menus in game. If you ended up jumping into a match, you couldn't change any of your settings on the fly. You couldn't change any of your creator class items on the fly. And you also couldn't noticeably leave the match, which was incredibly weird. That part has actually been fixed out, but the rest from what that first day one notice was, that wasn't. But then when you think about all of that stuff, that's really weird, but it gets even deeper than that, because communally, I've seen tons of tweets and comments. There was a Reddit thread, I think, that detailed a ton of these as well, in which there was a lot that didn't make sense that's actually missing. That even if you don't think about it, you're like, okay, well, that's weird. We don't see that because it's fundamental stuff. Now, before we jump into the rest of those, one quick little sort of mention here is that the Tier 1 stuff, while it's absent right now, despite being listed as a launch item, it was updated under the radar in that very same blog post that initially mentioned it, talking about it at launch, stating that it will now be available at Season 1's launch on November 16th. So yes, we are a pretty short period of time away from Season 1, but at the same time, when it was listed for launch, when in the past we've seen this stuff come way before a couple of weeks after launch, I don't quite understand why it's taking so long, but at least that one has some clarity. Touching on it again, barracks are missing, which means that we miss out on that whole subset of a ton of stuff. Leaderboards, stats, challenges, medal selection and checking. Medals are kind of in the game itself. We only have a couple, Kingslayer, double, triple kills, and stuff like that, but not a whole ton compared to what we had way back in the day that show up actually in game. As for what could actually be there behind the scenes, again, there's no way to track it because we don't have barracks. We're missing a handful of weapons as well from Modern Warfare 2 that we ended up seeing for those that actually got access to the early access menus. Again, you could plug in a mouse and keyboard to your console, or if you're on PC, you could hit just, I think it was F12, and you could actually go into the offline menus and see everything. There were a couple of weapons that we ended up actually missing out on from the launch. So whether or not those are Season 1 weapons that were then initially reserved for Season 1, and because we were accessing stuff that wasn't quite the finished game, it showed up for some reason, we don't quite know. But there are a couple of weapons that, again, aren't actually there right now, despite there being mismatches in numbers from the official launch blog and what we actually see in-game for overall total quantity and weaponry of certain classifications. It seems like Gunsmith, when we take a look at that, is kind of missing a little bit of the functionality as well. The UI I don't think is going to change. I'm not a huge fan, but like, we don't have any way to inspect the weapons like we could within Modern Warfare 2019. We can't hit our right thumbstick in and then inspect the weapon without the attachment designation around it, preview the weapon with camos and anything like that. So that seems like something that would have been there from the very beginning as well. And talking about camos, notifications don't pop up in-game. You can't actually track that challenge once you're actually in a match. The best you can do is go into that match and realize, okay, I need X amount of kills, however I need to do it, whatever certain way or whatever the case may be. But once you go in there, you're just flying blind. You gotta hope that you complete it and it tracked properly. Sometimes I think that for like the kills from behind that I was working on recently, sometimes I thought I was from behind, but I guess their shoulder was like a 90-degree angle with me whenever they turned and I killed them and it didn't count. But I had no way to know of that actually in real time. Other things that are just weird that they're not in there is that something even as simple as a countdown timer for XP tokens. I mean, beyond people actually having issues redeeming them, I've heard that quite a bit where it doesn't actually allow you to activate them. The timer just doesn't show up once you actually do. So again, you have no idea how much time you're using on that, which is very important to know, and that's very helpful in game. There's a bunch of other smaller things that we could definitely touch on, but it's just strange that whenever we see this game apparently having no issues in development for 3 years, that so much large stuff seems to be missing. And I don't mean to say all this kind of stuff as like me trying to be overtly negative or anything like that. I just think it's a really valid question of why isn't some of this stuff there? And also, if you have experienced this, no, you're not crazy. This stuff actually is missing. It's not a case of just, oh, I don't know if I can find it or not, because that's what I thought it was initially, but it's not. Now, beyond all of that, there at least seems to be motion in the background where some of the stuff is being worked on. Stuff that was missing that wasn't part of the integral game experience, but is being investigated as people's cosmetic or redemption items not actually showing up. That's something that Infinity Ward is aware of, and they're working on a fix here for that, and rightfully so. I mean, people paid money for a lot of stuff there. They should absolutely have it. Party issues where people haven't been able to play or their game would crash in parties. Dude, I crashed so many times on stream yesterday. I think that we opened up our stream actually with 4 of 5 match attempts crashing. So that was something that it seems like it boils down to partying up a certain number of players. I think it might be like 3 or 4 and above are causing issues with crashing. I ended up playing with another person, so it wasn't 2 solos. I was totally fine. One thing that it seemed to be initially was that it might have been the drivers. Beanox COD PC, the developers behind the PC version of Modern Warfare 2, tweeted out recommended drivers that temporarily fixed that issue for me, but then it did come back again in larger party sizes of 4 and above. So that's something that it seems like stuff is at least in motion. I just kind of hope that maybe there's more than just these bug fixes here and there, and we actually do get some of these bigger things. I want to be able to grind out career challenges. I want to be able to see those mastery challenges and calling cards that are in there in the game files. People have data mined it. They've actually accessed that stuff in the game. It's just not visible to the public. It seems like that bridge from point A to point B just doesn't exist right now, which is the weirdest thing. Those being those menus, of course, that bridge. So that's where we're at here with this. Again, don't mean to be overtly negative or anything like that, but just wanted to give you guys a sort of PSA that yes, this stuff is indeed missing. Fingers crossed it comes, and if it doesn't, well, I don't really think there's an excuse as to why some of this stuff wouldn't come. But anyways, that's where we're at. Before we wrap everything up, again, a reminder, check out my friends over at GamerAdvantage. I've been talking about these guys for ages. They're the best blue light glasses company on the market, in my opinion. I've used their stuff every day for almost 2 years now at this point, and still will swear by them day in and day out. If you look at a computer, your phone, any sort of screen for prolonged periods of time a day, you may very well know the effects of blue light. That's something that I've combated my entire sort of YouTube career, if we can call it that. But they're head and shoulders what gets me through the workday, what keeps me productive and free of eye strain. Their frames are the most comfortable, lightweight, and durable frames on the market that I've used. Their lenses are clinically proven and can be prescription ready, so you can check that out as well. They do a great job of breaking down all the science way better than I ever could. So if you guys want to learn more, link in the description below. But right now they have a special offer going on where if you order any pair of glasses with code ESPRESSO, not only does it save you 10% off your entire order, but you also get a $50 gift card to use back on their site. So it's essentially free cash back just by simply using code ESPRESSO. So can't go wrong with that. If you guys would like to learn more, link in the description below. And again, use code ESPRESSO to get some extra added bonuses for the launch window. That's it. That's what we're gonna call it. So let your thoughts down below. Are you guys missing any of these big things here at this? Have you noticed them in particular? Whatever the case, feel free to let me know. But if you enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on the video. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Modern Warfare 2. Again, this was a bit more conversational, doing a little bit more testing. We'll have a lot more analytical stuff, a lot more actual helpful guides and content here coming tomorrow and through the weekend. So make sure you're here for all of it. We're getting right back to it, but wanted to keep you guys in the loop. So thanks so much for watching. My name is ESPRESSO. I'll see you guys later. take care, and peace.